Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Beep Boop 6, Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning with Power Platform. Before we start, I have a few quick things to go over. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We ask that you be kind and respectful to everyone, including our speakers. We want the reactors to be a place everyone feels welcome. Please ask questions using the YouTube or Twitch chat. In the chat, I'll also be sharing some links to our reactor meetup pages and monthly newsletters if you're interested in checking out what other sessions we have coming up. If you haven't already, please check in using our event check-in at aka.ms/reactor check-in with event ID 14325. By checking in, you will receive links to content that go along with today's session. We'll also be adding this session to our Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. And finally, I will share a link to our Reactor survey. If you have a few minutes, we greatly appreciate your feedback. And I will now pass it over to Chloe and Ornella. Hello. Happy Tuesday.
We are back. It is our first episode of September for Beep Boop. Beep Boop 6, if you can even imagine it.
Season
How are
2.
you feeling?
Season 2. It's wild. I can't believe we're on to the next chapter, starting a new topic, starting a new series. Just so many emotions.
Yes, season 2, Hannah. I'm right there with you. I literally was you know that song from Frozen 2 where it's like into the unknown? That was me, like preparing mentally for the new content we would be doing today. But if this is your first time at Beep Boop, let us know in the chat. We've got 22 lovely humans joining us live today. This is, like Ornella said, beginning of a new season, new month. We've got new merch. I made some merch over the weekend. We had a 3-day weekend, and I played with my Cricut machine and made some merch as promised. Also thought that our our BBs, as we like to call our viewers, will appreciate this Clippy shirt that
Yeah,
I.
is it sparkly?
Yes, of course.
Stop. I can't.
How have you been, Ornella, since last we beeped and booped?
Wow. So much has happened. Let's see. I met up with all of my college friends this weekend for a little reunion. What else? Back in San Francisco now. It's a beautiful day. What can I say?
And how's Franklin the dog doing? Our official mascot of the show.
Franklin was at a place we like to call summer camp this weekend, which is with his dog sitters who I'm going to watch my Twitter. I'm going to share some of the pictures they sent us because these people who watched him were professional Franklin photographers. I've never seen photos like this of him before.
Some glamour shots.
Glamour shots. Everyone needs to see them. They're honestly stunning.
Hey, Mike, good eye. So Mike says, new season, new Frank folder. As promised, I added a Frank folder to the our little assets here at the bottom because Frank has become, if you've never watched the show before, we'll tell you real quick what we do here besides just talking about how cool Ornella's dog is. But Frank, the dog, is Ornella's dog who has become pretty much the mascot and the anchor to this show. We get Franklin's takes at the end of each episode, but Beep Boop is a series that we started a month ago. This is episode 6, where we learn artificial intelligence and machine learning concepts out in the open for free, online, no previous experience required. This season is no different. We are going to be learning all about AI and ML from a low code, no code perspective, because we heard your feedback in the chat. And a lot of people were saying, this is a little beyond my skill set. How do I, as a muggle who doesn't know how to code, get started with this stuff? And we're like, we got you. We got Power Platform. But, thank you. Thank you, Project Arostribe. This is, definitely the Bebe font. We just
that's the point.
Beep boop everywhere and had to do it. Now, of course, I'm getting so many targeted ads from Bebe. I keep screenshotting them and sending them to Ornella. Maybe this merch will be available soon. We'll see what the what the need and desire is. But before we dive into all these brand new concepts, we gave a little spoiler alert last week that the month of September is going to be all low code, no code, Power Platform, Power BI, all the fundamentals needed to get started with this stuff without any coding experience whatsoever. But Ornella, give us a little previously on Beep Boop, but for last season. What did we cover last season?
So last season was all about intro to AI and ML, so artificial intelligence and machine learning. And we started off with a big exercise in cleaning and prepping data, which is, step 1 to solving problems with artificial intelligence. You have to have a data set. You have to clean and prep that data set. So that's kind of what we did in the first 2 or so episodes. And then we used all of that data to make a web app, which was inspired by the new movie Space Jam. So it was about basketball. And it was this little app where you could play with the Toon Squad and normal players or the NBA players. And then kind of like give them water breaks and simulate a game using machine learning. Very, very cool. And then at the end, we used some Python, some Flask, and Azure Cognitive Services to create a little translation app. So yeah, just tried to give a menu of all of the possible things that you can do with AI and ML, and all of the work that we did, or all of the modules that we went through, are available online if you want to try them out for yourself. And then obviously you can follow along and have us as your guides as you walk through them. So, and if you have questions, it's not too late to tweet us about those.
You can tweet us at any time. We've played with these modules so much. And that's sort of the same format going into this season of Beat Boop. As I mentioned before, we had a lot of folks saying like, okay, this is like very deeply technical, but how do I, someone who doesn't use code or maybe is working as an admin or, how do I do and implement these different things and show data with low code, no code? And y'all, I'm super excited because I think this is going to be for anybody out there who's looking to get their Power Platform Fundamentals certification, the PL 900, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm really excited actually, and I'm kind of using this as an accountability buddy. Shout out to my friend Brandon North in the chat for being my accountability buddy on creative projects, but I tend to be more likely to finish or complete something if I'm doing it with a group of people. It's on my to-do list to get certified with PL 900. So what I figured is we'll do a lot of the like core kind of milestone pieces of those certifications here on, only have 3 episodes for Beat Boop September because my birthday is coming up and we're taking the week off for my birthday. Sorry about it. We got to celebrate. But yeah, I was also thinking for some of these ones that we don't cover on the show, I still might go onto Twitch and complete them with other folks online because it's always more fun when you're learning together. And that's really what this is an opportunity for us to ask questions, think up use cases, get Frank the dog's take. But yeah, we have a question here. Is this AI model shareable? We're going to be sharing a bunch of different links and deets and stuff like that shortly. It won't so much be an AI model. This is going to be more this episode. I should also just preface this at the top, y'all. If you joined us for the last season of Beat Boop, we got pretty deeply technical with data cleaning and running things in the terminal. This is going to be a very different season. So if you're looking for a very deep technical dive into AI and ML, probably best to turn that off right now. This is more of a season that we are putting together for folks who are just starting their coding journey. So we'll be covering more broad topics here. Hi, Gwen. Welcome to the chat.
Hey, Gwen. Hey, Chloe, can you tell me, a novice, what is the Power Platform?
Ooh, I have a video actually that I can show of this. Okay. I'm going to share a couple links here. So first of all, y'all, there's a couple different links I'm going to share. One is aka.ms/beepboopcertpower, which I'm going to open up in a tab here and share with y'all. First of all, I have to show y'all my desktop background here. Okay. Share screen.
Pop it in the chat too.
Oops. Share my screen here. Okay. First of all, how great is this background? Pretty great. Alrighty. So raise your hand if you've ever gotten a Microsoft certification. I can't raise my hand. I haven't done it yet. This is going to be my first one.
Me either.
Very excited. Let us know in the chat if you've done a certification through Microsoft before. But this is the PL 900 certification here, which I've been diving into a whole bunch because this is the stuff that my team works on. But really what these certifications are is you can get certified. I mean, you can get certified in so many things at Microsoft, everything from specific things with Azure to, Ornella, didn't you mention there's an AI ML specific path?
There's also an AI certification that's AI 102, and I'll put the link to that in the chat also. That one covers a lot of the stuff we did last season on Beat Boop. So like Azure Cognitive Services, and then a lot of stuff that Chloe's actually worked on in the past around like bots and those frameworks. So a lot of overlapping kind of stuff going on, but yeah, lots of certifications.
Yes, #power to the people. Absolutely. That's what makes me most excited about this Leon Tribe is truly, like, as I go through this, obviously, like, Ornella and I have done a deep technical dive into this stuff, but it makes me the most excited to enable folks who don't have all of that knowledge and be able to automate all these processes, which I can tell you, as someone who used to be an admin, Power Platform, where were you? Like 10 years ago when I was painstakingly taking a bunch of time and like cross-referencing data and having all of these different, Excel spreadsheets I was dealing with. And Brendan, great point. So Brendan says, I appreciated last season, but a lot of it went over my head. I feel catered to in season 2's goals. Well, that's what we're here for. So a little bit of just like a review of what certifications are. So you can actually like go in here and look at all of the awesome certifications that Microsoft offers. And I
Wow.
never really understood certifications before, but now I'm starting to realize that there's a lot of things that I could probably get certified for that I've like gone through in a couple modules here. But this is for PL 900, which is the certification exam for Power Platform Fundamentals. So if you're following along with us for Beat Boop Season 2 here, we're really going to be going through, like, hand-holding you and walking you through these modules. So you're going to have two folks who work here helping you through these, which is really great. But they have a suggestion here that if you are going to complete this certification, ways to prepare, they have instructor-led, but they also have this free option online, which is this Microsoft Power Platform Fundamentals Learning Path. And that is what we're going to be playing with today. And you asked me, Ornella, what is Power Platform? Why do we care? I'm going to share the sound real quick. I'm just going to let Donna explain it to us because I was
I
watching this
need to
video
hear it
earlier.
straight from the source, from
Straight
Donna.
from the source. Oh, hello. Hello, Jorge. We're so excited to have you here. Let us know in the chat where you're joining from, why you're here. I'm really excited because this is like 33 people in here right now, like stoked to learn about Power Platform. So I'm really excited to share it with you. I'm going to share this.
34 people, Chloe. I don't know if they count me in there.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, let's see if I can share my audio here. There we go. Okay, I'm going to let Donna take it away and explain to us why this is important.
How many of you wish you had the secret superpower that could make your life and business so much better and easier? You want to know, right? Yes, you do. All right. I'm going to introduce you to the Microsoft Power Platform Fundamentals Learning Path. That sounds really complicated. It's not. Power Platform is really this bucket of cool low-code tools that you can use to build your own websites, chatbots, apps, automation, AI, all sorts of things that'll just make your business better. You'll also learn in this learning path how to use various data stores, either the one you're on or a newfangled one called Microsoft Dataverse. And lastly, and probably most important, you'll learn how the Power Platform is secure, compliant, accessible, so that your tools can be used by anyone in the world. By the end of this learning path, you're going to have a really good understanding of what is the Power Platform, what it can do for you, and how it can make your business better.
Wow. So succinct, so to the point. We love to see it. But yeah, I went through the modules that we're about to go through today a little bit earlier. And I got to say, this is a great kind of step back into the how and the why we need a lot of these things. I know earlier in the chat, we had Brendan here mentioning like, a lot of it kind of went over their head. And what I really like about this is thinking through those situations, Ornella, where let's say that let's like pretend that we don't know how to code, right? Like let's rewind back to the olden days of me being a recruiter or an office manager who wants to automate certain tasks. So here's an example. There was a whole process when I was an office manager where someone would check in at the front desk. I would then send a message through our chat thing that we used to the person who had a visitor. There was an NDA that had to be signed. So there were like multiple steps to this process of sort of like letting someone come on site,
Right.
so to speak. So the example that I love to give is something like a check-in process where, initially it took me, an office manager, like 5 or 6 different steps of like ask them if they want water or coffee, have them sign the NDA, notify the person that they're there to meet up with, make sure that the conference room is clean. And there's these ways that we can use tools or even just like the information that we have within our own company network of automating those things. So we could even go as far as to like automatically sending in a message with a click of a button when someone is there to check in, printing out or displaying that NDA on a Surface tablet or device or whatever that may be. But there's also even an opportunity to, save data on the back end and have a record of like everybody who's been in the office, or even just,
Right.
I mean, you could even get as smart with this process with Power Automate to use some sort of IoT mechanism to start the coffee or the sparkling water, with the smart device. So there's all these ways for someone who doesn't have those technical abilities. Ooh, we've got this great question. Is it like project manager with tools to make? Not so much. So this is going to be more of the stuff that is within the ecosystem of your company, and then you can use those tools to automate those processes. But there's a lot of great examples in this module, so we'll just dive into this module. But any questions before we just like dive in? Ornella, how are you feeling? Is this your first dive into Power Platform fundamentals stuff? Baby's first Power Plat?
Yeah, I mean, I've made a Power App one time,
Okay.
and had to work with them a little bit when I was on the Power Platform team. But like seeing AI, I think, and data is very new to me. I'm just thinking about how I can make an app that refills Franklin's food bowl or
I love this.
a IoT treat dispenser. I don't know. Like the opportunities are limitless here.
And let us know in the chat, if you're joining us and you're like, ooh, I'm here to like learn how to automate X. Like maybe you're like, I'm a recruiter who's looking to automate, onboarding process or like candidate sourcing processes. Also going to share aka.ms/beepboop links 6, not linksys, links sis. No, links 6. Oh my gosh, here, put it in the chat. And that is going to be what we are going through today. If you want to follow along, again, this is sort of like our way of being able to go through this together and ask all our questions. And it's not going to be super code heavy. So we're going to have more philosophical conversations on like the how and the why. Ooh, Gwen says, I love Power Platform. Even though I know how to code, I try to leverage the Power Platform when I can. Work smarter, not harder. Okay, because I've made so many logic apps, chat bots. Like there's so many kind of things that I don't want to reinvent the wheel and start from scratch on. So I find myself using Power Platform for a lot of just easy automation stuff. I couldn't agree more, Gwen. That's so true.
Totally. I think a lot of people also love to use the Power Platform to upskill. So
Yes.
certifications are like certainly a part of that, but something I love about the Power Platform and like being on the team, got to experience a ton of this. There are so many people who have used Power Apps to, have like amazing business impact. Like there's some great stories about people who went from, like office managers to engineers. And there's a lot of really, really inspiring work that people are able to do because of this low code platform. So there's a lot of great stories out there. I'll try to bring in a few for next time because I think they're really inspiring.
And I think we'll go into a couple examples in the module itself, but there's like some really great use cases here for, different departments like the marketing department to track in Power BI, like Twitter engagement. There's ways like it's a really cool way to leverage what historically has been sort of data that is only accessible by engineers, like accessible by everyone on your team. So I'm excited. Ask lots of questions, Brenda North, if you're in the chat, because I'm just really excited. We have all kinds of shapes and sizes of developers in here, because truly, I think everyone's a developer. Like that's sort of the beauty of Power Platform is this allows you to do very technical things without really having to write a line of code. Ooh, Gwen says, I used Logic Apps to build a solution that got me promoted to cloud engineer. Okay. Wow.
Yay, Gwen.
I love it. I love it.
And now we're so lucky because Gwen is one of our coworkers.
So excited. Should we jump right in? I'm thinking.
Let's do it. I'm really excited. Come on.
Okay, sweet. So I went through this a little earlier today. It is very word heavy. So if you've joined us in previous streams, we've done a lot of like coding and VS Code. Again, this is not going to be like that. This is going to be more conceptual, especially on this first episode. If you take a look at our event series here, maybe you're like, I don't want to listen to them talk about the concepts of Power Platform. Well, sorry, don't tune into this episode. However, our next two ones are going to be a little bit more code heavy. We're not code heavy, but low code, no code heavy, where we're actually going through and building things. So today's going to be more of I need to share the actual screen that I'm wanting to share here. Today's going to just be more of an overview of what all of those different pieces of the Power Platform are, because today I learned there's a lot of things that are under the Power Platform. Didn't realize we're part of the cinematic universe of the Power Platform. But next week we're off to celebrate my B-Day. So make sure that you celebrate. And then the week after next, we're going to be making AI chatbots with no code, low code required. If you joined my GotBots stream, a little bit similar to that, but using Power Automate. And then also the 28th, we're going to be visualizing, analyzing, and collabing on data, no code required. So those ones will be a little bit more project heavy if this is not for you and you're like, I don't need a review of this. But otherwise, buckle up. All righty, here we go. Let's do it. So again, y'all, this is, you can check this out at aka.ms/beepbooplinks6. And just a little refresher, there is a certification that you can do, of course, that this is kind of a part of, or at least what's recommended to complete that certification. And we're just diving right in. I've done 20% already. Okay, so I'm pretty knowledgeable on the 20% of the Power Platform at this point. We started, of course, by watching this lovely video of Donna, the queen of Power Platform fundamentals here. No prereqs needed. So again, best if you're here with no knowledge, just getting started. So let's go into this introduction to Microsoft Power Platform, shall we? Okay, so this is a pretty simple module we're going to go through here. I've already completed it, but I figured we can just go through Ornella and folks can ask questions in the chat. We can kind of go over some of these concepts because truly Brendan North is here in the chat, and I was thinking of Brendan North as a kind of use case test person as I thought about this curriculum, or at least going through this curriculum, because I think there are a lot of sort of concepts that we're going to cover on the how and the why that we'll use this. So Brendan, we're relying on you for questions. Ooh, Leon says, good day from Sydney, Australia. My first flow took me a couple hours and replaced code, which took a week to dev. Oh my gosh. Powerful, easy to use, brings non-devs and devs together with common language. We did not pay this person to write this. This is a real testimony, truly. That's so exciting.
We love to hear it though.
And I love that part here that's talking about bringing non-devs and devs together, because that's really what I think about when I think about this stuff. I think about when I wasn't as technical and wasn't an engineer, like how I felt oftentimes like I was being a burden or kind of bothering the engineers to like build a tool or a feature for me. And this really enables, folks like that to be able to build the solutions themselves. Non-devs plus devs, heart. Couldn't agree more. All right, so let's go through this little introduction here. And again, it's going to be a little word heavy this episode. Let's see, I guess I can just kind of read. We can high level just go through and read some of these things. But in this module, we're going to learn the components and features of Microsoft Power Platform. Check. Identify when to use each Microsoft Power Platform component application to create business solutions. Really, that's a fancy way of saying there's a bunch of different tools and ways to use this, and we're going to go over them. And we're also going to learn the value of using Microsoft Power Platform to create business solutions. And I was thinking, Ornella, for the sake of this module, you and I should make up a fake business that we are trying to, so this needs to be a business where we're going to have a lot of data, and we're going to need to manage that data and figure out different findings and stuff from that data. So I was thinking, and let us know in the chat your ideas if you have a use case, but I'm thinking something Franklin related, like maybe, like you said, a treat, how many treats or bones or have been hidden. I don't know. What's a use case for Franklin?
I know, maybe like a store that sells different types of dog treats.
Okay. Ooh. So we could have like gluten-free. We could have a bunch of, I like that. Tracking treats.
Gwen says toy inventory.
Okay, I love that.
Franklin's and Hannah says Franklin.
Okay.
Franklin does love mommy.
You know how Oprah has like Oprah's holiday picks? It's like Franklin's picks, Okay, I love all these custom dog merch shop. That's also great. Okay. Yeah. So first things first, why is Microsoft? What is Microsoft Power Platform? So I actually learned something going through this module, which is that there's a couple different pieces to Power Platform, specifically Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents. Have you played with all of these yet, Ornella? I'm trying to think if I've played with all of them. I've definitely played with Power BI. I've used Power BI. I've used have I done virtual agents? I guess I've played a little bit with kind of low code, no code chatbot solutions, maybe not officially through Power Virtual Agents.
Yeah, I think the virtual agents is the only one I haven't looked at.
Well, let's do a quick little review we'll do it for Brandon. So Power Apps provides a rapid low-code development environment for building custom apps for business needs. It has services, connectors, and a scalable data service and app platform, Microsoft Dataverse, which we're going to dive into, different than the Microsoft Marvel Cinematic Universe, and allows simple integration and interaction with existing data. Power Apps enables the creation of web and mobile applications that run on all devices. So these are literally going to be little apps that we can use in our everyday life. So like I was saying earlier, like a type of, you could even have an app for like someone comes and visits the Franklin offices and we want them to sign the NDA and, get checked in and all of that fun stuff. This can be things that integrate with different parts of our business. So someone recommended the salami. So like maybe one of the radio buttons on that intake form is like, what's your favorite salami? So we can have that prepared for you. But these are literally going to be like apps with a really easy interface, won't require a whole engineering team to build, that we can just create almost instantly, which is really cool. Power Automate. This lets users create automated workflows between applications and services. It helps automate repetitive business processes such as communication, data collections, and decision approvals. So when I was an office manager,
if you've ever used like If This Then That,
yes.
that it's basically like that. So if you know how to code, or if you've ever been around like CS, like the concept of an if statement. So like if, and then some conditional clause, then do this thing. It's kind of, Power Automate is kind of like an abstraction of that. So you can say like, if it's like 7 a.m. on a Thursday, and I know I'm sending the same email every 7 a.m. every Thursday at 7 a.m., then you can just automate. They used to be called flows to like send that email for you without you having to do it manually every time. So,
or just like, I feel like as an office manager, I was constantly following up with people and being like, hey, make sure you submit your expense report, or your expense report is late. And I would have to fill those emails out and set a reminder for myself. And this would just automate that. So versus like someone having to go through, a company of like 1,000 people being like, oh my gosh, like, how do we automate this? Power Automate. Great solution. Yeah. Power BI, oh my gosh, we use this so much here at Microsoft. So I feel like I've never created my own Power BI dashboard, but that's something we're going to be creating on Beep Boop Season 2. So that's pretty exciting. But this scales across the organization. And really what this is sort of data visualization in a way. So like getting data that you have inside your organization, and then being able to make informed decisions on that based on viewing it. So this can be, how many people are interacting with these links, or who, let's see, I'm trying to think of some other ones that we kind of use here within Microsoft. Let's see, I'm going to read a little bit more here. It says you can consider Power BI as the analysis and insights legs of Microsoft Power Platform. It takes business data and allows you to display it in ways that make the most sense to users. So yeah, I mean, this can be for like a campaign that you're doing, like checking how different clicks work on different platforms. It can be like how many people are using our application in this area versus this area, just like being able to visualize that, which, this can be helpful for marketing. This can be helpful for, you can even use this for admin type stuff, like how many people have completed the company survey, for example, and being able to visualize that data. And then last but not least, Power Virtual Agent.
I have a question from Brendan about potential integrations. So there's a concept in the Power Platform called connectors, and
Which we'll be
connectors.
covering in this module.
Oh, awesome. Okay, but yeah, the high level is that there's integrations with like common data sources. So like Twitter, Excel, etc. And you can also make custom connectors. So
And custom connectors are really powerful because any sort of API that's out there, you can basically create a custom connector with. So super, super exciting. Ooh, yeah. So Brennan says, I spend a lot of time repeating expense report paperwork that looks the same and seems like it could be automated. Totally. Like any sort of thing that you find is very repetitive or that you're doing like on a constant basis, like this is really what this is built for. And then finally, Power Virtual Agent. So this is kind of the no-code, low-code chat bot type Power Automate stuff. So we got a little glimpse of this with the Got Bot series, like making a Q&A bot with like frequently asked questions, just like really simple ways to be able to create chatbots to complete really simple actions. So we're going to have a whole episode on that. Don't worry too much about that. And then, of course, we cover all these things. AI Builder, which Ornella and I are diving into and making some content around. We're pretty excited about. The Microsoft Dataverse, which I just love to say because it sounds like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So this is like lets you decide like who sees your data, like how data is used within your organization. We're going to be diving deeper into that. Connectors, as Ornella mentioned, connectors are the secret sauce that helps us connect all the things. If you ever watched any of the GotBot stuff, that was the Twitter connector that we had in there to be able to create a lot of our Twitter bots. And yeah. Okay, next. Thank you, next. Data connectors. Okay, as promised. So again, y'all, this is more of like an informational learn module. So we're just going to be going through the information here and kind of discussing it. So let us know your questions in the chat here. So this is exactly what we were talking about a little bit about. Like connectors allow you to extend your business solutions and add functionality for your users. So data sources. We've got a couple options here. One is tabular data. So this is going to be like a structured table format. So this is like pretty common with most of our Power App stuff. And there's also function-based data that interact with the data source. So, let's see. It says Dataverse is the new name for the common data service, right? If anyone's used that before. I believe so.
The answer is yes.
Yes. Dataverse is also just like way more fun to say.
Way cooler name if you ask me.
So we can use both of the data sources to bring data and functionality because really like at the end of the day, we need data. We're, as we've said on the show, we're database on this show. We love data. We love to clean data. We love to work with data. But really our apps are nothing without data because otherwise like what are our apps going to work off of? So this is a very data heavy solution because we obviously need information about be it our customers or maybe it's internal users if those are like if you're working in HR or something like that. But let's keep going. We've got connectors here. So this section here is just talking about connectors and how we like bridge those pieces. So we will have like things like let's see, I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Tabular data. I keep thinking like tabby cat, tabular data, where we're going to have like information, right? Like maybe it's how many people have ordered salami from Franklin the Top. Now I'm getting into e-com with Franklin services here. But there's also going to be situations where we want to connect things. I think Twitter is a really great example here because, I mean, you could go and like download your entire Twitter account profile and try to extract data from that, or you can work with an existing connector API to be able to get that information for you. So there are more than 275 connectors that are available, common data sources, and they're divided into standard and premium. And those include like SharePoint, Outlook, YouTube, a bunch of common things, SurveyMonkey, MailChimp, all of these different ones on here. And that helps with our input and our output for Power Platform. So basically what this section is saying is like, don't worry, we got you. There's a lot of existing connectors. And don't worry, if there's a connector that you don't see here that you need, you can build a custom one very easily. So, and again, I mean, like, there's so many ways to integrate these things, especially if you're working like within Teams or M365, like super compatible with all of that. But there's also a bunch of stuff outside of the Microsoft ecosystem that this works with. So let's move on. We're going very fast with this.
I want to give a quick shout out to our Microsoft student ambassadors who are watching. So the student ambassadors are a group of students that have, a very deep learning relationship with Microsoft, and we love our students. And they're working on a challenge this month to create a custom connector. And
Ooh.
yeah, and so they're getting an opportunity to have their connectors put into like the official connector library. So very cool.
I'm trying to think what custom connector would I make? Like what doesn't exist that I want to exist, and should I build this? Any thoughts, Ornella? Tell us in the chat. What custom connector? Yes, yay, student ambassadors. Clippy connector. Ooh, actually, it's a good idea, Gwen.
I got a Clippy API for that.
Neopets API. Ooh, we gotta look into this. I like it. I think I remember a previous Microsoft build, an in-person one that I was at. I was talking to some of our engineers who had built like a calculator connector or something like that they had added in there, and I was like, that's really cool. I didn't know you could add these things in. So yeah, but a lot of them already exist, which is really cool. So, okay, let's see. Now we're going on triggers and actions, which if you, again, join, there's a lot of crossover here with GotBots because we use a lot of low code, no code solutions. But triggers and actions are going to be two things that we're thinking about a lot. So triggers typically kind of like begin the flow, like this happens. And it, like, if you remember when we built our, let's see, we've got Gwen in the chat. When we built one of our bots, we had bots that responded to a trigger. So like when someone tweets at this bot with these emojis, do this. And there's also action. So like performing an action once something is typically triggered. So, and kind of like allow, so this can be adding something to a database. This can be removing something from a database. So, I'm going to explain it in a low code, no code terms. So for example, let's use that checking in someone at the front desk example, you could have a trigger, which is whenever you add someone to a list, it'll prompt them to fill out the NDA, like that'll trigger an NDA thing on a
send to their email or something.
Exactly. Or even, I could even see a use case for this. Like I think about all the times and all the time I spent creating calendar invites when I was an executive assistant, like, and they would be the same format of meeting, like 30 minutes in this conference room with so-and-so, like just being able to click a button that triggers like, hey, here's that calendar invite, and creates, an action based off of that. So, okay, now that you understand what connectors are and how to use them, let's look at what to do when there isn't a connector. So this is what we were talking about with custom connectors, and there's all sorts of like resources here on using a blank custom connector, OpenAPI definition, Postman collection stuff here. But basically, if there's one that doesn't exist that you need, so like Neopets API, gonna assume there's not a connector for that one. You can definitely go through there. It looks like you're working on a connector. How can I help? Yeah, great example here. I just had to do that today. Create 7 identical meetings at different times. Right. So you could have an action, like you could create an action based on a trigger of creating, I guess we'll get a little bit deeper into the how and the why of this, but you could trigger a whole automation process of like duplicate this.
You could have a form.
Yeah.
That whenever the form is submitted, it kicks off the action.
We love
a lot of different ways to do that one.
Okay. So we're chugging right through here. And obviously there's a lot more you can dive into here about making custom connectors, and we're not going to dive into that today. But this section here is all about compliance, privacy, accessibility. Really what this section here is talking about is how to create. So we talk a lot on this show about, we talk a lot about data. We also talk about a lot about how to secure your data, make sure that you're not there's compliance with things that you need to think about with GDPR. There's location-specific things if you're working with any medical industry stuff like HIPAA, things like that. So this is a very important section and really varies depending on, you know, what you're working on and what type of data you're working on. Typically with any data you're working on, especially if it's personal data, customer data, you want to make sure that's secure and safe. And there's, you know, a bunch of different ways to have non-business and business, or even have like sandbox modes and things like that. So these are things that we're going to be thinking about a lot when we are working with our data. Of course, if you joined us for last season, we were dealing with Toon Squad, player efficiency ratings, and when fictional characters needed to be hydrated. But typically when we're working with our, you know, with real data, not to discredit the Toon Squad, they're great basketball players, but
I mean,
we want
like,
to be careful with that.
if you're buying Franklin salami, there's like credit card information
Oh my
involved.
gosh.
Just, you know, it's not cheap because it's
Yeah.
the good stuff. So it's
Yeah,
just,
and
we got to keep all that information protected.
let's say Franklin has a whole intake form where he's like, hey, if you're going to eat my salami, like, you know, those like wine subscription services where it's like, fill out this survey and we'll tell you like what wine you'll like. It's like, we have a lot of personal data about salami consumption in here that we want to keep private and not share with our competitors, obviously, in the dog salami selling industry. I love how I went into this being like, well, think of an example of an e-commerce site and it's like a dog selling salami. So this is all going into yeah. So GDPR compliance, accessibility in the Microsoft Power Platform, data protection goes into all of that here. But I'm going to go to this next section, pulling it.
I do want to talk about something cool in the last unit. There's actually Franklin just came over because he heard his name.
He heard salami.
That's also probably what he heard. Let me. He wants to say hi.
Ooh, should we sell our artisan salami on Etsy? Hi, Franklin. Franklin, season 2.
Season 2, Frank. You say hi.
We're just developing low-code, no-code solutions to sell e-commerce salami solutions for you, Franklin.
Salami? He's into it. Trust.
Love it. Yeah, Etsy connector for the win. Is there an existing Etsy connector? Wouldn't surprise me. If not, we can build one. Absolutely.
Sorry, Franklin interrupted me, but I was going to say that there's a really cool feature in the Power Platform where when you build an app, you can actually check the accessibility of your app.
Oh, interesting. So like you can go through, and when you say accessibility, you mean like kind of how people are able to view, interact with, like communicate with the app based on like standards of accessibility. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think if you go in the last page, there's a link to like the accessibility checker.
Oh, this thing here?
Yeah, and then it says, see, you can use the accessibility checker to help review potential accessibility issues. I think a lot of it is about like making sure that the contrast is good, or
I would imagine like alt descriptions.
Alt text descriptions, stuff like that.
The case on every single website that we ever make, like truly.
Yeah, but I think that's really cool.
Accessibility checker. Today I learned. Okay, pulling it all together. So really what this page is saying is, oh, there's a really great example in here. Let me go through here. Okay, so I love this example here. So consider a business that has IT equipment for general use. Currently, equipment checkout is conducted by visiting the IT office, checking if the product's available, then writing your name and the equipment name in a notebook. Okay, so first of all, I'm like, so much room for error here. Handwriting can be illegible. You don't know if people are actually going to fill it out or just like having managed tools and equipment before in a, okay, here's a great example for Brendan. Let's say you run a prop shop for a theater. and you want to keep track of who's renting the props, who's taking the props out, and you want to be able to like automate that and track that. I think that's a really great example. So it says employees may have to visit IT several times before equipment becomes available, and IT personnel must drop their tasks to check on equipment status or to go collect it for the employees. So this, you can even think of this in terms of like returning library books, right? Like accountability where it doesn't take a human person. You can automate all these processes of like, hey, this book has not been returned in a long time, right? Sometimes employees hold onto the equipment longer than they intend, and an IT personnel spends time tracking it down. Super annoying. I've had to do this before. In addition, important equipment information such as serial number, warranty details, and instructions for use are kept somewhere in the IT office. How can Microsoft Power Platform improve this process? So I think that's such a great example, like sort of the checking out of things, or like the keeping tabs or track of different items. Like I almost think like a library, not that we would rent out salami to people in our Franklin example, but being able to not have it rely on a human person to do all the follow-up, to do all the tracking, to like make sure that equipment is returned. So here they say, let's see. Power Apps allows us to build an app that has all equipment listed. First of all, amazing. Instead of just having to view like a messy shelf or something. The status of that equipment. So is it checked out? Is it not checked out? Is it missing? That's also important. And important details such as use instructions, which if you've ever had to keep track of instruction manuals for equipment, having it digital, best practice. This way employees can check out the equipment, walk to IT at a specified pickup time where the equipment will be ready, and even access the use instructions or flag equipment malfunction from their phone or tablet. And I love this because
So cool.
think about how many tasks like you're removing from this person. So let's say Brendan, for example, is the manager of this like equipment warehouse. Like this removes so many things, like the follow-up of like things missing, having a whole database where all the instructions and all the resources are put in there. And what probably historically was like an entire day's worth of work can now be consolidated and automated in a bunch of different ways. So I love that example. They also say in here, users can see when equipment is booked through the app, request checkout for a future date. So this reminds me a lot of the San Francisco Public Library when it says, hey, that book that you want by Oprah is not going to be available until 6 years from now because everybody wants it. And it can take all the data generated from the app to analyze it to help you understand what equipment is most used, how most often, and by whom. So this also allows someone to have impact and say, hey, I can't help but notice that our table saw, I don't know what this company is now, is being used, and maybe we need another one. So instead of being like, I think we need a table saw, you can be like, the data clearly says that we need this in the budget. So really cool. I think it's a cool example because it shows, hey, here's a way to automate all these tasks and to show business impact, like be able to like draw conclusions from data, which is really what we did in the previous module of like, okay, based on this clean set of data, we can now determine who needs a water break from the Toon Squad. But in this case, it's a little bit more real world use case where it's like, oh, hey, like in addition to automating all these processes, we're also able to like have a really big impact within our business to like, because then you could make a Power BI dashboard to like show usage of different tools. So
yeah, and I would say, just to add, if you're looking, I mean, this is a great example. I think if you're looking for opportunities for automation in your own business or in your own life, I would start by thinking about everything that you use paper for. It's a good start to kind of figuring out like what the opportunities are. A lot of time is saved, especially if it's like a big continuous process or recurring process, by switching to not paper, like the platform.
That's such a great like use case, Ronella, because I even think about some of these tools that the Power Platform has, like business card, like, you know, things that historically have been just this pile of paper that you have to like go through and stamp and approve, or like, you know, type in the manual data entry and stuff like that. Anything that just like removes paper from your life, except maybe origami will allow that. But okay, should we check our knowledge? knowledge check
Yeah.
time.
Wait, Mike said this library that rents out printer, salami, and table saw sounds like a nightmare to run.
See, what I'm picturing is this table saw can cut the salami, and I mean, it's not like maybe up to code. Yeah, I think I have to be careful about how diverse my examples are here, because we're gonna come up with this like crazy factory of like deli meat, dog treats. Okay, question 1. And actually, I really enjoyed doing this knowledge check earlier because it did make my brain think a little bit. Your social media engagement officer, ooh, cool title, has requested your help in boosting followers and retweets on Twitter. How could you help her get more information to better understand and subsequently increase engagement? Okay, option 1. Configure a Power BI report to capture and analyze data from Twitter, allowing you to better understand why certain posts elicit more responses. That sounds promising. Power Apps using portals can create a new customer site for our followers. I don't think we need to do that. I don't think we need a whole new website. Power Automate can handle our content approvals for us, reducing the time it takes to produce new content and ensure our quality procedure is followed. Okay, that sounds cool, and I want to build that, but I don't think that's the answer.
I think they're all good, but I think for increasing engagement, the first one is the answer.
Okay, question 2. Your team has become frustrated with the number of times they have to perform basic data entry on project startup. There are many divisions who need the information, and sometimes human error results in mistakes, making it more difficult to make sense of your information. Which program would be most helpful in this situation? Okay, I would
Data entry sounds like Automate.
yeah, because Power BI would display it. Apps would like kind of make it an app to be accessible. But I'm thinking, yeah, Automate sounds good. Someone has added an item in SharePoint which prompts a workflow to run in Power Automate. What type of operation have you used to start your workflow? I would say a trigger, because it's saying that someone's adds something and then it prompts a workflow.
Mhm.
Okay, feeling good, feeling good. A client likes the idea of implementing a Microsoft Power Platform solution, but is concerned about the availability to interact with a custom API. How should you respond? I think we got this one. Okay. Custom connectors.
That's the one.
Perfection. I mean, we do have over 270 connectors, but you can make a custom one. Someone asked you to describe a connector. How would you respond? Someone who connects people. No. Connectors connect your data source to your app, workflow, or dashboard. Okay. Connectors hold a series of functions available for developers, or connectors are a cloud-based service that makes practical and simple for line of business users to build workflows that automate time-consuming business tasks and processes across applications and services. I want to say,
I think it's the first one, but
so
also
too.
but the last one sounds so specific.
So specific, but I want to say, let's see, time-consuming and processes.
No,
I
think that is the description for Power Automate.
I think you're right.
That's my guess.
Okay, I'm going to check our answers. We did it.
Yay!
We did it. Okay. Summary. So, y'all, you could just literally watch this back. We gave you all the answers. Don't tell anyone. But you're like one step closer to this certification, right? Like, we just finished this guy right here. Pretty exciting stuff. Cool. So really, now we know all the different components and the features. So again, like I said, this is just like square one. What the heck is Power Platform? Why do I need to automate salami sales from my dog? All the different components of the applications, and then understand the value of the Power Platform. So our key takeaways here are just kind of knowing all the different pieces, like what makes up the Power Platform and why do we use it and who would use it? Because I think as very technical folks, we tend to like want to build these things from scratch, but really putting ourselves in the mind of being able to not only enable more people to code who could historically not build these things or needed like at least a knowledge of some kind of language, and just have them have this power with all the data that they have within their company, which is
less
super
code,
cool.
more power.
Absolutely. Okay, so we didn't get to Dataverse today. What I'm thinking is either I'm going to do a Twitch stream of this Dataverse one and I'll tweet out about it, or we can cover it very quickly next week. But the Dataverse is super cool because it really, I'll just show a quick sneak peek in the minute or so that we have here. But there's a very cool visual here of just like what is included in the Dataverse.
Oh, wow.
The Microsoft Cinematic Dataverse, if you will. But really all these different pieces that like allow us to do all these things, because you're probably thinking like, okay, we have this data, but like, how do we keep it secure? How do we store it? How do we think about integrating it? So that's really what this Dataverse section is. But next, or the week after next, because maybe next week I'll do like an off stream. We'll see if I end up doing it. I will let people know on Twitter. But we're going to be making chatbots. We did all the kind of the basics today, and then we're going to be like collabing on data and showing that in Power BI.
I wonder if do we show enough of the, can we cover the Dataverse in the data one?
Yeah, let's do that. I think I'm going to sneak that in. Either I'll try to see if we can do a one-off stream next week, or maybe we make that kind of the first half of the chatbots one where we talk about like what can we do with our data and where does the data live within our kind of ecosystem of our company. We got to think of a good name for our salami company. Let us know in the chat your thoughts.
Franklin Incorporated.
But if you want to go through y'all and like start clicking through all these things, you can go to aka.ms/beepbooplinks6 or aka.ms/beepboopcertpower to take a look at that certification course. Really what we're doing here is we're just kind of walking through all the different parts of this lovely Power Platform that I'm clicking around on everything. And here we go. That's part of this Power Platform fundamentals kind of like best practices to go through. But I'm really excited because by the time we finish all these things together, people are going to be good to go on getting certified. And that means more certifications in Power Platform, which means more salami to the people. If you're a dog making a salami app. How are we feeling? Ooh, yes. Question for
Mike is asking the important questions.
Ooh, which character would you be in the Microsoft Dataverse? Ooh, let's see. I mean, Clippy? I don't know. Does that count? What about you, Arnella?
I don't know.
I think we need to think of like superhero names, like the Database or something like that. We'll get back to you on how to answer this.
The Accelerator.
The Accelerator. I love it. That's actually pretty great. Okay, y'all. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode of Beep Boop? We are going to be tweeting out some resources and recaps and letting you know if we do a little bonus stream to go through the Dataverse stuff. But how are you feeling about diving into the Power Platform-averse and the Dataverse of it all, Ornella?
I'm so excited. That was awesome. I feel like that was very clear. And I think someone said this earlier in the chat, but just like knowing the context of the whole technology and set of technologies that we're going to be working with is really awesome. So I'm excited to dive in deeper next time.
I had a lot of questions about like, okay, how, like, I feel a lot more comfortable now of the cinematic universe of Power Platform where I'm like, oh, Power BI and like Power Automate and like, oh, like chatbots are a part of this. Like now I understand the umbrella of which we're working under, which is exciting. Hungry to learn more. And for some yes, we're always here to help with any of your hunger needs with data. All right, should we wrap this one up and call it a beat boop?
We need a little Frank.
I think we need to close out with a take from Frank.
Franklin, here he comes.
Franklin,
come here, Mom.
Most important part of the show, truly.
Here he comes.
And let us know. Like, tweet at us, let us know in the chat, like, why are you joining us here? Do you just enjoy Franklin? Do you enjoy our witty banter? Or what are you trying to build with Power Platform? Or did you not even know about Power Platform before getting started here? We'd love to know how to better suit this stream and learning for you. Franklin. Okay, let me make Franklin the big boy here. Okay.
He's back.
Franklin, thoughts, concerns, salami, anything? Parting words of wisdom to the viewers at home?
Franklin eats. Oh, there he goes. Franklin eats a piece of salami every morning. That's his
Wow.
breakfast.
What a treat.
Aren't you so lucky? Are you so lucky? Thank you.
All right, fam. That has been Beep Boop this week. We are off next week. Maybe a exclusive, maybe a surprise stream next week. Well, TBD. But we will see you in 2 weeks. And with that, we will take it out with our outro music. Bye.
Yeah.